What's up, everybody? My name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. I made my last bet November the 12th of 2022. Over the next, I don't know, however long we go, I'm going to be talking about my addiction story, but also answering any questions that you might have about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery. So hopefully we get a couple people to tune in and we can answer some questions. I just looked it up and it's been 963 days since I made my last bet back on November the 12th, 22. It's a lot of days. A lot's changed since then. But realistically, like I don't actually wake up and count the number of days at this point anymore. But hopefully hopefully we get a couple people in. We can talk about the dates. Let's see. Are we on for a podcast on the 8th? I don't have your name. It's showing up as Baller, so I think so. But what was your first name? Because I'm pretty sure I have us on the schedule still, my friend. But welcome to the chat, everybody. If you're here, what's up? Do me a favor and leave a like on this video. It'll help get it pushed out to more people here on YouTube. And feel free to ask any questions that you have about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery. Do I still get urges? And hello, my friend. At this point, I can't say that I do, right? Like, a lot of my urges early on were realistically just because I was so used to doing it every day. Like, every single day, I was gambling for like 8 hours a day. And once I stopped, I had nothing to do with my time. So a lot of my urges came from boredom, but really out of just sheer habit. So at this point, I really can't say that I do get the urges. A lot's really changed, though, in between. To answer your question, I don't really get them at this point, but things are a lot different than they used to be. If you're having a gambling binge right now or an urge to go and gamble, let's talk about it. What's making you want to go and place those bets? Let's see. If you've lost money gambling, you're in the right spot, my friend. My name is Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. If it's your first time seeing me, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Happy to have you in this community. But realistically, it's really tough in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. But it gets a little bit easier with time. Every single day it gets a little easier. And by the time you reach, 3-4 months in, you're going to be wondering why you're even gambling in the first place. Of course, the urges might come up from time to time, but it genuinely does get better. Yes, I have you on my schedule for, would be your Tuesday, my Monday. Got you, my friend. Happy to have you. So welcome to the chat, everyone. Let me know if you have any questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery. Happy to take any questions that you got. I don't know how these YouTube live streams really get pushed out in the vertical format, but I know they want us to start doing them. So if you like the vertical format, leave a like on the video. If you don't, let me know why you don't like it. And hopefully I can ask, or rather answer, some of the questions that you or someone you know might be struggling with right now. Feel free to ask literally whatever you guys want about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery. If it's been a week for you, congratulations. That's awesome. If you have, just hit me up at my email if you have specific questions about when to record a podcast. It's not really the kind of questions I want to take right now. But if anyone has any questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery, this is the time. Happy to have anyone on the podcast that wants to share their story. You just got to reach out to me via email. We'll get it set up. We will get it set up. So, sitting around waiting. Let me know if you guys have those questions. If not, this is going to be a quick one. And if it's your first time seeing me, let me know so I can give you a little bit of the spiel about who I am, what I do. Do I consider sports trading or stocks betting? So my guess is your version of sports trading is just what you're calling it, but it's actually just sports betting. But tell me if I'm incorrect about that and it's something different. Stocks can be gambling, depends on your timeline with it. If you're buying and selling, trying to get a quick flip, it's likely pushing towards gambling. If you're going to buy and hold something for many years, it's going to be towards investing. It's kind of a spectrum, though. I hate that saying, right? But it is, right? It really depends on what your mindset is when you're approaching it from the stock market. 87 days, no urges. Congratulations, my friend. That's awesome. What do I think is the worst thing that I did to get money? Definitely lying. I never reached the point where I committed the crime of stealing, but it was inevitable if I kept going. But it was really the lying, right? Like, I wasn't getting money from people that I didn't really know. It was people that, like, I literally was family with, right? Like it's family and close friends that I was borrowing money from. So I was definitely stealing it if I was going to be honest about the language there, because I was asking them for money under false pretenses, right? I was saying, hey, I'm light on money for rent, or hey, I'm going to start a business. You want to invest in the business? Like I had all kinds of lies and excuses, but the reality was I was basically stealing that money and using it to gamble. Now, when I was doing it, I always had the thought of like, you'll win and then you'll pay them back and then you'll have more money. So it was always like some half-baked excuse as to why I was borrowing instead of stealing. But looking back, it was absolutely just not a good thing at all. Crypto casinos got you bad. I know that feeling, my friend. I know that feeling. I think that the reason that crypto casinos do so well and make so much is it's a mixture of things, right? But the games are a little more highly stimulating than the basic casino apps, at least that we have here in the US. And their marketing is intense. I mean, we're constantly being bombarded with this idea that you can make money gambling online, and if you're not making money, you're still having a great time. So I think we need more people talking about the truth, but the crypto casinos sure aren't going to be those people. Anyways, to stop the rumination, I imagine you're meaning, how can I stop thinking about the losses that I've incurred from gambling? What I always say to that kind of question is like, the amount that you lost is what you had to lose to learn that it was only going to get worse. Think of it as a tuition payment, if you will. And I know that might not feel great, but if you kept going, it was only going to get worse. So any kind of mistakes, any kind of losses that you incurred, it would have gotten worse. And so the way that I think about it is that's what I had to pay to learn my lesson. What would I do when I had an urge, especially early on when I would have an urge, is I realized that what I needed was to get myself busy, was to occupy my time. And so what a gambling urge really is this brief, like momentary feeling of like, wow, I really want to gamble right now. But you have to stop and ask yourself, what is causing that urge? In most cases, for me, it was boredom, and it was feeling like I didn't have enough money. And so in the times that I was bored, I recognized I needed to delay that urge. I needed to tell myself, okay, I'm going to gamble an hour from now. And until then, I'm going to go out for a walk and I'll see how I feel an hour later, right? So what I was doing was putting some space between the thought and the action. When it came to the money thing, the way that I would deal with the urges was just making it impossible to act on them. So I had my family managing my bank account at first, which didn't put me in the running for sexiest man alive or anything, but it actually really helped me, because when I would have an urge and I was like, oh, I'm going to deposit right now, I couldn't, because I didn't have any money available to deposit. So you have to think about what's causing your urge before you can come up with the solution. But I hope that those like two pieces of advice can help if either of those things were what was causing your gambling urges. You're currently 15 and crypto casinos have ruined your life. You regret every single bet due to how much stress it caused you. Well, we're going to be talking about it in a couple days, I'm sure, but realistically, it's not about the wins and losses, right? It's about what is it doing to your life. And in most cases, especially when it's a gambling addiction, it's adding stress, it's adding lies, it's adding just genuinely bad things to life. Let's see. All your friends are addicted and want to go to the casino, so sometimes you cave in and end up losing, of course. It's such a brutal addiction. Have you told your friends what you've been going through? Have you discussed it with them at all? Because if you haven't, you can't really blame them for asking you to go to a casino, right? But if you have, I think they would probably stop asking you to go, would be my hope. So, I think we need to be honest and upfront, even if it's kind of an uncomfortable conversation in this recovery process. How to get away from poker is the same way you'd get away from any kind of gambling, and there's 4 things that I did to get myself better. First was finding alternative things to do with my time, which ended up being creating this content. Second was limiting my access to money. I had my family managing my bank account, and I only carried the cash that I needed on a weekly basis for expenses. Third was self-excluding from the casinos, making it as difficult as possible to gamble. Self-exclusion is when you voluntarily ban yourself from play. And fourth was going to support group meetings like I go to Gamblers Anonymous. If you do those 4 things together, you're covering most of your bases. And there might still be more to it. You might need therapy, you might need treatment, but if you're doing those 4 things and you're working to become a better person each day, you will find recovery. You never gamble at a casino, but you go to people watch. I see. Yeah, you can always tell. Oh, you can always tell the difference between the problem gamblers and the party people. I feel like it's difficult, to be honest, because with a gambling addiction, right, you can very easily hide how much it is that you're wagering through and how much you're losing, what kind of stresses you're in. Like, you guys would have no idea if I gambled 5 minutes before I went live here, realistically. But of course I didn't. And realistically, it's just that's why they call it the hidden addiction. It's tough. Yeah, I saw the Trump stuff about the tax bill. I'm gonna make a video about it tonight and see if we can push that out a little bit there. But yeah, there's like a stipulation to the tax, the losses that you can claim on your taxes. Who cares? I mean, you're already claiming the bottom of the barrel there anyway. You know, you can only claim a maximum of what, like 3 or 4,000 a year. So it's really a non-factor. It's a difference of a couple bucks, but gamblers are mad for sure. Let's see. Do I think famous poker players have a gambling problem or an addiction? They definitely can. I mean, I interviewed a guy named Greg, and he was a professional poker player who developed an addiction. I know Scotty Wynn has been cited as winning poker tournaments and then going and losing it all. But it's really tough to know who has and who does not have a gambling problem. With that being said, I think a lot of professional poker players are in their situation because of the external factors of the business. So they get staked, they get sponsorships, they get things to sustain them during the highs and lows of the gambling sessions. So even if they are addicted to gambling, they're kind of well equipped. It's the same with like slot streamers online. Like Aiden Ross has reacted to a video I made where he said he's addicted to gambling, but he streams gambling. Why? He's getting paid to do it, right? So I think that most professional gamblers wouldn't come out and say that they have a gambling addiction because it might be bad for their image. Congratulations on accepting that, Catalin, and pursuing recovery. I'm happy to have you here. Wimbledon's on now. I mean, if you're going to feel like you have to gamble if you're watching it, then it's not worth watching. But if you're someone that can sit down and enjoy it still and not have to gamble on it, that's awesome. For me, in the beginning, I really didn't want to watch sports because I was a really big gambling fan. I wasn't even a big sports fan. Now I'll watch, maybe I'll watch the championship of Wimbledon. But besides that, I'm probably not going to watch much. So know yourself, know what kind of things are going to tempt you into maybe going back or maybe having an urge to gamble, and make sure that you're avoiding it. Going to your third meeting tonight. Congratulations, my friend. That's awesome. And yes, well said. I mean, the idea of going to a meeting can be pretty daunting. Sitting in a room and admitting that you might have a problem can be very scary and really not very enjoyable in the beginning, but with time you'll find that it does really help and it gets better. Oh, there's so many people that are addicted to gambling that don't know they have a gambling addiction. And it's fascinating because it sounds stupid, all right? Like, you should be able to realistically know if you have a problem or not, but I believe the number was around 7% of people who would be diagnosed with a gambling disorder actually seek help for it, which means that 93% of those people, which is millions of people, either don't know that they have an addiction or are living in denial. Now, I didn't really know that you could be addicted to gambling until 5-6 years into my gambling. And so I get it from that perspective, right? Which is why I do the work that I do. I want to see more people aware that gambling addiction is real. But, it's kind of like binge drinking, right? Like, people, they'll go off to college and they'll drink more than they would have otherwise. Well, are they alcoholics? Maybe not. Are they drinking in a way that would be deemed alcoholism? Yes. And so I think we're seeing a ton of that with gambling. We're seeing people that are gambling in a way that a gambling addict would gamble because of how fast you can gamble now, because of how accessible it is, but not quite yet developing the full-blown addiction. So we're seeing a lot of people beginning to develop a gambling problem, is what I'm seeing anecdotally. If gambling is the thing that you enjoy most in life, you are very, very much addicted to gambling, because if you are addicted to gambling, your brain has rewired itself to make you feel that way. Your brain has rewired itself so that you only get joy. You only feel okay when you're in action. So don't believe your brain. It's a lie that your brain is perpetuating to keep you going back to an action that it knows is not good for you. But it's the easy way out. It's the easy dopamine hit, right? So it takes a lot of work to stay away from gambling and to maintain recovery, but it's well worth it as your brain begins to heal itself. Have I ever given my opinion on if sports are rigged? The answer when I give that is I have no idea, but it doesn't even matter because every single bet contains a house edge. So if sports are rigged, awesome. I don't know. But they don't have to be rigged for the casinos to come out on top over the long run, because in every single bet is a baked-in edge to the house. Oh, in the end, there's people that'll tell you, "Oh, I only make plus EV bets," but they ran that calculation on an Excel spreadsheet they made themselves, and they'll be coming to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting within a year as well. So the sad reality is gambling's not profitable. I don't know if sports are rigged or not. Wouldn't shock me, but no idea. All the professional gamblers are paid to play by casinos. Well said. I mean, they're sponsored. They get free stuff. They get to stream in the casinos. These are things that you're not supposed to be able to do, but they're doing free promotion, or they're getting paid for promotion rather. Let's see. Just want to do my my typical plug. If you're here and you're looking to, now let me do a better plug. My name's Rob, and I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. I created this channel to help people like yourself, like anyone that you know, who might be struggling with a gambling addiction or might be gambling in a way that it can become an addiction, to avoid making the same mistakes that I did. So hit that subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed. Would love to have you join this community, because I post content every single day aimed at helping you to live a happier life. Marcus, day 999. Congratulations, my friend. I'm so happy to hear that, and I'm happy to see you. Welcome back. What was my understanding that made me change my mindset? So what happened to make me finally stop gambling? The last day that I gambled was a 12-hour gambling binge where I put myself into debt for the next 6 months, but that really wasn't what it was. What it was about 6 or 7 hours into that session, I was going to the bathroom, and I had all the money that I had taken out as loose bills in my pocket with my phone. And I went to grab my phone, and the money fell all over the floor. And I freaked out, and I picked everything up, and I panicked, and I was like, oh my God, I might get robbed. I might have left some money somewhere. Maybe like I didn't pick everything up. And then I started to laugh to myself, because I had the thought of like, just throw the money back on the floor. Because if you throw the money back on the floor here, someone might pick it up and leave with it. But if you don't, and you go back out there, you're gonna lose it. And so what I realized was, no matter how much money I had, no matter how much money I won gambling, it was never going to be enough to get me to stop. So naturally, I went back out there and I lost the rest of it, proving myself right once again. But that thought helps me to stay away from it today. It's that no matter what I was going to do, it was always going to go that way. Because gambling is just not profitable, guys. And a lot of people want it to be, so a lot of people get mad at me for saying that. We look for ways to tell me that I suck at gambling so that they can continue to do what they know is maybe bad for them. But at the end of the day, we're just not supposed to win when we gamble. It's supposed to be for fun. And I'm someone that's definitely not doing it for fun. So, let's see. How can you become involved in gambling harm advocacy and go to conferences? Well, depending on where you live, you can just go to that state's conference or that country's conference. There's typically 2 to 3 conferences every single year from each affiliate of the National Council on Problem Gambling. They're all over the country. So that's a good first step. I think the most helpful thing that we can do to kind of help people not get addicted to gambling is honestly making content and doing marketing and advertising. We see billions of dollars invested in advertising gambling. Billions. Getting people to sign up for casinos, TV commercials, social media commercials, whatever it might be. We see it all the time. What we don't see is someone saying that you might lose money if you gamble, which is just supposed to be obvious. But so many people, including the majority of young men right now, it seems, think that sports betting isn't gambling. They think that they're going to find a system, that they're going to win, that everyone they see online is winning, so why shouldn't they? So I think the best thing that we can do is create counter messaging. And we're up against, it's David and Goliath. That's what it is. But the counter messaging really will make a difference. Thank you guys for leaving likes on the video. It helps get it pushed out to more people. And to everyone that's subscribed, thank you so much for joining this community. It's been a real pleasure to make this content, and it's been something that's helped me to find purpose in my life now in recovery, because for a really long time, the only thing that I cared about was making money with my gambling. And now, at this point, I'm realizing that I was living a very shallow life, that I was pursuing things that really didn't make an impact on my, happiness. I was just trying to find success, proving that I was a good gambler somehow. So being here, being a part of this community, making this content has been a really big shift in my life, and I hope that you can enjoy what I put out here. Let's see. You're starting a nonprofit for Gamblers Anonymous. They won't let you do that. Sorry. They'll just reject it. You lost every paycheck to online gambling. I remember I was just working, and it felt like I was working for free because every single time that I would work, I'd be gambling either during work or just after, and I would lose it. So I'd clock back in for another shift, and it was like it never happened. I was working for free. It felt like just life on repeat over and over again. Let's see. Stop gambling since 3 days. Congratulations, my friend. That's awesome. Place to bet, but you're losing. Stop gambling if you want to stop losing money. That's my best tip there. Gamblers Anonymous won't let you start anything in their name. It's like one of the only rules that they have. Any machine gambling is completely fixed. It might be. I mean, the odds of winning are fixed. You're not going to win in the long run. So if anyone here has questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery, feel free to drop them in the chat. And thank you to you guys that just hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining. You did Zoom therapy from the casino Wi-Fi. Wow. That is fascinating. I would be really interested in talking to you about that. If you're ever interested in sharing your story, please send me an email. It's linked in the channel, on the channel page. Would love to have you on the podcast to share that. Do I have my own Discord channel? I don't. You know, a couple of years ago, I was thinking about starting one, but I put all my time and energy into just creating the content. There's people that are going to start their Discords, but I just want to see really sustainable things happening, and I didn't feel like I could sustain the Discord. And I think that a lot of things in this space are like, let me sell this app, right? But then someone downloads the app and they use it once and they never use it again, and that's it. Like, the reason that I make content every single day is because we're not selling a product here, right? We're selling an entire lifestyle change, and selling's even a strong word, right? We're trying to tell people, hey, if you want to get better, it's going to take consistent effort every single day pursuing a better way of life. It's not a one-stop shop. It's not a one-day fix. And I think a Discord could be helpful in that, in talking to other people. But I've always found that face-to-face is better, and I definitely don't have time to host a meeting at this point. Used to play online poker with Bitcoin. I feel you, my friend. I was doing it as well. Absolutely. Let's see. Yep. Everyone shouting out Gamban. I work with them. I like them a lot. I think that they do a really good thing. The thing about that kind of app, right? It's not like a daily check-in app. I think there's value in it if you're going to use it every single day, something like that. But with Gamban, you're changing what you have access to for the entirety of the time that it's on there. That helps to create a lifestyle change because you're not able to go and place those bets right away on the casino. Adding friction is huge. Yes, our podcast is going to be an online session. I'm not flying to India. I think that's where you said you lived. I'm not flying to India to record with you, my friend. If you had to choose to get back the money that you lost or the time that you lost, what would you choose? I think it's interesting, right? Because I was gambling for 6 years. I'm 26 now. I don't know that I lost that much time. Obviously, the nice answer is to say that I want the time back. And I think between the two options, I would. What I think I would really like back are all of the times that I got super angry and took it out on other people, when I was lying and manipulating to get money to gamble. So rather than the money or the time, I would rather have back the integrity, if that makes sense as an answer. You know, I hope that answered the question. I think that was like a half answer, to be honest. Of course, my friend, thanks for being here, and I look forward to our podcast. Yeah, lies and broken trust. That's exactly what it is. And thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. I hope that when I put out content here, it just reaches the people that, not only the people that are developing or have a gambling addiction, but even the people that are just casual gamblers, right? Because if I was maybe more equipped with information when I was a casual gambler, maybe it doesn't become a problem, right? Like this idea of responsible gambling, I think it's a load of shit, especially once you cross that line to become a problem gambler. But the concepts of teaching people financial literacy, teaching them about the actual odds of the game, the risks involved, I think that's all really good information that people should be equipped with going into it. Would that have stopped me from developing an addiction? I don't know. But I do know I would have known more about what I was doing. And I would have maybe had fewer false beliefs. Like, I'm going to have this system that's going to win. I'm going to figure this thing out, right? Like these kinds of things that I was telling myself to keep going. Maybe if I had more knowledge, that wouldn't have happened. How do you get past the emotional roller coaster after you realize that you need to stop? You need to recognize that all the mistakes that you made, all the money that you lost, all the lies that you told were your tuition. You had to do that to learn that it was only going to get worse. So the emotional roller coaster is one that you just kind of have to buckle down and sit through. But the reality is, once you stop gambling and lighting your life on fire, things do get gradually easier. You have to pick up the pieces, you have to deal with the lost relationships and trust and maybe the debts that you're in. But it really just kind of becomes do the next right thing, do the next right thing. And then you wake up one day and it's been almost 1,000 days. Do I think the NBA, NFL is rigged? I have no idea. It doesn't really matter, though, because every single bet contains a house edge, and the casinos are going to make money regardless. Tell me something about the withdrawal symptoms. What do you want to know? Let me know. Let's see. What's the biggest loss that I had? I'll never tell you. The reason that I'm never going to tell you is because you asked me that question for one of two reasons. Either you're not addicted to gambling, so you're probably just looking for entertainment, but I don't think that's it. What I think is you want me to tell you a number that's really big. Because if I tell you a number that's big and it's maybe more than what your biggest loss was, well, then all of a sudden, you're not a gambling addict and I am, right? So what I find is when you give numbers, people will say, oh, he lost more money than me, so he's a gambling addict. I'm not, which means that I can keep going. Or, yeah, bro didn't lose enough. He has nothing to tell us, so there's nothing valuable there. There's no value to it at all. The reality is I went into debt 6 times over the course of 6 years to the point that I had to work a second job to pay it off. And if that doesn't explain it, probably don't need the information anyway. But, yeah, I do what I do. That's just kind of one of the things that I do. 55 of you in here. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with me, ask some questions, and listen. If it's anyone's first time seeing me, my name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022. I create content here on YouTube as well as TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook with the aim of helping people to avoid making the same mistakes with their life that I made with mine. If you or someone you love is struggling with a gambling problem, or maybe you're just noticing yourself gambling more often, then this is the channel for you, and I hope that you can get value out of the videos that I put out. Let's see. The last day that I gambled was a 12-hour gambling binge where I did pretty much every single game that you can think of in the casino. It was a long, long day that I don't recommend anyone go and try to replicate. How's my mental, physical, and spiritual health improved as well as my financial health and recovery? Let's start with financial health. Yes, absolutely. As I stopped losing money gambling, I started to save money, and now I'm doing well. Mental health, gotten a lot better because I'm not always stressed out and angry with myself. Spiritual health and physical health are the two that I think I need to work on. Because when I stopped gambling, I pretty much switched right into this work mode where I've been working on overdrive pretty much since that point on this channel, on social media in general, trying to grow, trying to spread this message. It's been a cool experience. It's been rewarding, definitely been tiring, and I've neglected staying in shape. It's not like I'm super out of shape, but I'm not nearly in the shape that I want to be. And spiritual, I definitely need to slow myself down. So there's things to work on, but at the end of the day, if I'm not destroying my life on a daily basis, I have kind of that baseline to begin to build upon. So I have steady ground now that I'm going to be pursuing physical and mental well-being. And I think it's going to be a really nice journey. To anyone that is or has considered taking their own life as a result of this addiction, just know that you're not alone. Many people out there have struggled with this addiction, and 20% of people with a gambling addiction have attempted to take their own life at some point during their addiction. The number in America to call is 988. It is the crisis helpline. Very, very good number to know. But also just recognize that, hey, you're not alone. I'm happy that you're here. Things can get better. We need to recognize what the path is that we need to go to live a happier and healthier life. Oftentimes, what motivates something like that is financial problems, right? You can quit gambling today, but you might be staring down 2 years worth of debt from your salary. Now, what do? That really depends on your situation. But what you need to do right away is sit down, list out all your debts, figure out the exact amount of time it would take you to pay it off, and begin to build a plan. Because if you sit down and you have a goal in mind and you have a plan, you can begin to actually think of how to accomplish that. A lot of the negatives from a gambling addiction come from this feeling of uncertainty, this feeling of despair. And if we sit down and we think, what do I need to do to get to that from point A to point B? It's listing out all your debts, figuring out what your income is, figuring out what your expenses are, and figuring out what you need to do to maybe earn 20% more money per month to get to that point that it's going to take you 6 months to pay it off, whatever it might be. We need certainty. We need to know what our next step is, and that's when recovery can truly begin. If you've been struggling with a problem and hiding it from loved ones, I know that feeling. What I will tell you is it's always better to rip off the Band-Aid, tell the whole truth, because then you can begin to rebuild together. But if you continue to operate in the shadows, in silence, you're never going to find recovery because you're constantly going to be preoccupied with keeping your secrets close to the chest. Once you kind of rip that Band-Aid off, people might not react the way that you want them to react, but you can begin to live a better life. It might suck. I'm not gonna lie, it might suck. Well, thank you for the gift, my friend. No need to send any gifts to anyone. The number one thing that you can do to support this channel is just share a video with someone and subscribe. But I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, my friend. Yeah, I noticed that like when I would first sign up with casinos, I seemed like I would win, right? Maybe they let you, maybe they don't. But at the end of the day, I was gambling every single day. There were wins and there were losses, but there was always more losses than wins. It's day 11 without gambling. Congratulations, my friend. I have worked through the 12 steps, yes. I went to a group meeting every single week for definitely the first 2 years of my recovery journey. I try to go as often as I can. How to prevent relapse, figure out what your triggers are and prepare ahead of time. So for me, the 4 things that I did to quit gambling and sustain recovery were finding alternative things to do with my time, limiting my access to money that would tempt me to gamble, self-excluding, and going to group meetings. So that was my relapse prevention plan in and of itself. I carried only the amount of cash that I needed, and my family had control of my bank account. I was excluded from all the casinos that I was gambling on to make it more difficult for me to access it, and I began to try to fill my time with things that made me feel productive, like I was doing something good with my time. And I have a 1 hour it's a long one. I have a 1 hour video here on the channel called How to Stop Gambling, a Complete Guide. I recommend watching that because I sat down and I tried to work through every single thing that I did to get myself away from gambling, all the feelings that I had, especially in that first week or so. And I hope that if someone watches that, it can really help them. Is it okay to feel dizziness, anxiety, and irritation after quitting gambling? Dizziness, I don't know. That one, you should probably ask your doctor. Anxiety and irritation, definitely. I mean, you're taking away the thing that you were doing every single day that made you feel good. It was your coping mechanism, most likely. So it's definitely a feeling of loss almost. Don't know about the dizziness though. You should check out the dizziness. Chasing losses was the worst. I've made a couple videos on it here on the channel, but when I would lose money, it would be frustrating, right? Because for me, my gambling, I thought I was a professional gambler, quote unquote. So that meant that I was going to continue to chase my losses because a loss meant that I was a bad gambler. I needed to prove that I was good. I needed to prove my worth. Oh, guys, you absolutely don't need to send gifts. Gotham, thank you so much for the love, though. I really appreciate that. One thing that I've always wanted to do here on the channel is never charge anyone for anything. And so you might imagine that definitely held us up in the beginning from becoming a financially sustainable venture here. But the idea is, however we can provide content for free that really helps people, that makes an impact, that's what it's been all about. So I really appreciate that gift, but please, no need to send anything. The number one thing that you can do to support is, of course, hit that subscribe button. And if it's your first time seeing me, my name is Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. I saw someone ask why I quit gambling. The last day that I gambled, it was a 12-hour binge gambling session, and it led to the point where I had a bunch of money in my pocket in the bathroom, and I tried to grab my phone. I dropped the money on the floor. When I did that, I panicked because I dropped a lot of money. But once I picked it all up, I started to laugh to myself because I had the thought, why are you doing this? You might as well throw the money back on the floor. I had reached a point where my gambling was just being done out of sheer habit. It was no longer bringing me any joy. It was no longer anything that I thought I could win at. And once I asked the question of like, why are you doing this? And I no longer had a realistic answer, that's when everything changed in my life. Let's see, the only time I got ahead in life, going to gamble, I missed that. Am I at the point where I'm making any money off social media or YouTube? I mean, yes, there's a little bit of ad revenue coming in, not enough to be a full-time job, but what's been really awesome about creating content has been the realization that you can get good at it. It's an actual thing that you can learn and become better at. And though I'm not on a Mr. Beast level or anything, I've been able to open up my own marketing firm, and that's how I've been able to sustain myself. These channels, the ODAT gambling awareness in and of itself doesn't generate a lot of income, but what it is proof that I know what I'm doing, if that makes sense, and it's helped me to get business elsewhere. Do I believe gambling is directly related to depression and anxiety? It definitely can be, and I think that what it is for me was like, it was kind of the cause of my depression and anxiety, but it was also what I was trying to soothe those feelings with. When I would feel depressed, I would go and gamble, but then I'd lose money, so I'd get depressed. And it was kind of a self-sustaining cycle of just misery. But yes, those kinds of feelings can lead you to gamble to kind of cope with them, which is sad. But it's something that I was doing for a very long time. I mean, when I first started gambling, I put in like daily fantasy sports, little tiny bets with my friends. By the end of it, I memorized the soundboard of those pragmatic slot machines on like the crypto casinos, and I knew based on the sound how much each bet had won or lost. Like that's a really big difference from start to finish, is it not? I did not get treatment, German. I did not seek out a treatment center during my recovery. I went to Gamblers Anonymous as my main source of like external recovery. But I now work with a treatment center called Right Choice Recovery that I actually think very highly of. So though I didn't experience it myself, I think it could have sped up the process. It could have given me a better head start on the recovery journey had I gone to a treatment center. Will I create content on the 12 steps? I mean, indirectly, I guess I have. It's the 12 steps kind of represent my entire recovery and my entire basis of like who I am now and what I do. But directly, it's like one of the few things that I disagree with about Gamblers Anonymous is this idea that we're not supposed to do marketing. We're not supposed to reach out to people struggling. We're supposed to wait for them to come to us. And so I think that something that would be really helpful is information about the 12 steps, is educating someone who might be just beginning to experience negatives about what the 12 steps are and how they can help them pursue a better life. But, I mean, directly, I guess, no, I haven't made these are the 12 steps video, but it's kind of baked into everything that I do. 4 months clean, give you some tips to keep going. I mean, Bernard, you're 4 months into it. What do you need from me? You're killing it, man. Just keep it going. I mean, what happens a lot is like we get this kind of rose-colored glasses type memory about our gambling, right? We think, oh man, it wasn't so bad. It was pretty fun at this time. When I did this, it was pretty fun. But we need to remember what it does to us if we keep going. So my best tip to you is remember the pain, keep doing what you're doing. Remember why you're staying away from it. Oh. Thank you, my friend. Again, guys, no need to send anything at all. It's very much appreciated when something does come in, but the number one way that you can support the growth of this channel is just to be here. Continue watching the videos. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. Send it to someone that might actually need it, like whatever you do. But I appreciate the gift, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone that's been here so far, that's been asking questions, that's been leaving likes. You're the reason that this channel exists and why it continues to help people. The goal is just to put out content that would have solved the pain points that I was having during not only early recovery, but now later on in recovery. The content's just as much for me as it is for you. I'm just doing what I can do. K Blanca, I understand the sentiment about not counting the number of days it's been since you placed a bet. The only reason that I do the title of this live as the number of days is because it provides context to my viewers. I really don't wake up and say, wow, it's day 963, yay. Like, I really don't. But whether you want to count it or whether you don't want to count it, all that matters is that you're going one day at a time, not making bets. What's my real full-time job? Running a marketing firm. talking about my my gambling addiction, I guess. But yeah, it's been a cool experience. A lot of times, creators, right, will sell a product, right? Will sell like a course. Here's how you stop gambling. And it's a load of crap, especially in this niche. We want to provide, or at least I want to provide something that's free, that's accessible, and that is relevant to people that come across it. Because it's really easy to take that way out and say, here's a course, here's a booklet on how to stop gambling. But it just doesn't really make me feel good. The reason that I do this is because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm contributing to something that's not just myself. I appreciate you guys being here. How did it affect my relations and now? When I was gambling, I was a terrible person. I was lying, hiding, getting angry, very irritable with people, so it didn't bode well for relationships. Now, I mean, it's not really a factor. I guess, like, when we're walking around, if someone knows who I am, that is the only time that it would ever come up. How do you get past the thought of what could have been and what happened? Play it through. What could have been? Okay, you hit a jackpot. What could have happened? Were you going to stop? Were you going to retire? Or were you going to try to hit another one? So you have to think what would actually be the end result of what I'm doing. If you were to go back to gambling right now, you could win. But then what happens? It always ends the same way, because there's never a big enough win to satisfy even the smallest dream of a compulsive gambler. Let's see. Yeah, gambling can be a manifestation of negative emotions because it's really cheap and easy dopamine. When not cheap in the end, but it's synthetic, right? Your brain's producing that intense hit of pleasure, that intense stress, that anxiety, but it covers up whatever you're feeling before. Once you put yourself on the gambling exclusion list, can you ever get off? That very much varies by state and by country. So it really, really depends. It's impossible for me to give you an answer there. Is gambling good for your health? Yeah, so is smoking 50 cigarettes an hour, probably, or whatever. Hopefully that was just a joke. Is the best way to get over it? Is the best way to get over the missing dopamine just finding other things to replace the time with? I mean, yeah, but it's not going to feel good, right? So when you're gambling, you're increasing your tolerance for dopamine. And the only thing that's getting you over that hump to feel thrill is gambling more. So as you begin to heal, your dopamine levels will begin to reset themselves, but it's going to take time and everything's going to feel terrible and boring, stale. But you have to give it time. You have to keep letting your brain heal, and eventually you'll get pleasure out of the little things again. 1,000 days, nearly there? Oh yeah, for me, yeah, almost there. Almost there. 3 months clean though, congratulations, that's awesome. You believe online gambling problems are getting worse? I think we're gonna continue to see that across the world because we're seeing gambling more. There's more people doing it, there's more advertising for it, there's barely any regulation on it, and it's just everywhere. So as speed of play increases, as technology keeps getting better and gambling keeps becoming more popular, I think we're gonna see more people with a problem. Online gambling, of course, being the driver of that, just as we got in here in the chat. So once again, my name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. Made my last bet November the 12th of 2022. If you're here and it's your first time seeing me, all that I ask from you is that you smash that subscribe button. Would love to have you join this community here. I make content every single day talking about my addiction story as well as other people who are sharing their story, being very brave doing so, in hopes that you don't go down the same path that we did. Yeah, gamification of everything. Everything's gamified because our attention spans are in the shitter. I mean, look, I'm playing with a friggin' stress ball because I can't sit still, right? Like, we're absolutely cooked as a society in terms of needing to stay occupied. Now, it just so happens that gambling is incredibly engaging, so a lot of people are turning to that as the thing to fill their time with, to fill their boredom, or to ease their boredom, and that's dangerous because in gambling, you can light your life on fire in just a couple of clicks. If you're in a big debt and you feel like you can't pay it, I have a couple of videos here on the channel about how to navigate that, how to pay off gambling debt. Realistically, I thought the same thing, and I'd say, oh, I'll never pay this off, so that would lead me to go back and gamble more, thinking that it was the only way out. What I needed to do, and what I ended up doing, was sitting down, listing out all my debts, all my incomes, figuring out my expenses, and seeing exactly what the plan was for repaying it. And that's not fun. It takes a long time, but it really does work. If you got to bail out, you'd end up just going and losing more. You need to remember that you have to take things a day at a time. You have to recognize what your path is to getting towards that break-even point and getting your money to where it's not in debt. How often do I get an urge to gamble at this point? Never. But in the beginning, a lot. I mean, it was what I was just used to doing. I was gambling basically on muscle memory and just waking up every day, and that's what I knew I would be doing from the time I got up until the time I went to sleep. Started writing about your recovery after watching my content. I'm really happy to hear that you've been able to express that, to kind of get that outlet, right? Like it feels really good, and I know that. So wishing you continued success with the writing. Happy to have you here in the community. Slots, 50, I think the number was 52.1% of slot players end up with a gambling problem. And the reason is because of the frequency of play, right? It's the machine where you're able to make the highest number of bets in the shortest possible time period. So the more bets you place, the higher at risk you are of developing a problem. And with a slot machine, it's no wonder that people develop a problem for it. Let's see. Yeah, I am live now. That's why you're seeing the live button in the top there. Happy to have you, though. Let's see. Had some big losses and developed some debt this year. I'm sorry to hear about that, my friend. Of course, if we keep gambling, the debts are inevitable. So if you are looking to begin the recovery process, there's a couple videos here on my channel that I hope can help you in that process. My take on slot influencers, they're doing really bad stuff. The thing is, I genuinely don't believe that a lot of them know how bad it is and know what kind of damage they're causing. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. A lot of times, I think these guys are just really enjoying themselves gambling, and then a casino comes along and they're like, hey, let's give you some money to keep going, right? I don't think they're all like demons doing horrible things, but the end result of it is bad. It's that people are watching them play. They think, wow, this looks awesome. I want to do this. I want to be a professional gambler just like this guy. And then going and losing all their money when they sign up for a slot app using their code. So I don't know that they know how much damage they're actually doing. What's the best way of avoiding cravings? You really can't avoid cravings. You need to prepare for what happens after you feel a craving. So the way that I prepared ahead of time was by having my parents manage my bank account, self-excluding from the casinos that I was gambling on, and making sure that I was going to support group meetings, as well as filling my time with things to do. If you know what kind of gives you an urge to gamble, prepare ahead of time for how you will deal with that particular trigger. And how can you stop gambling completely? It's those same 4 steps. It's finding alternative things to do with your time, limiting your access to money so that you can't do damage to yourself, whether that's having a family manage it or putting it in a place where you can't access it right away. Self-excluding from the casinos to make it more difficult to gamble so you can give yourself some time between the thought and the action when you experience an urge. And 4th, going to support group meetings. Those 4 things together make a huge difference. Let's see. Even after stopping and making money working, my brain still holds the money I lost as being down. Just keep doing your thing. That'll begin to fade. There's no magic bullet that fixes everything, okay? You might keep thinking that, you might keep feeling regret. Recognize that's the amount of money that you had to lose to learn the lesson, and push through the sadness, push through the feelings of regret. They will begin to fade as you keep doing the next right thing. Maybe work at a casino and then you'll stop gambling. Interestingly, a large percentage of casino employees, larger than any other demographic, I think, develop a gambling addiction, which is strange, but true. So, guys, I think I'm going to be calling it here. Thank you so much for being here today. I just want to give my spiel one last time. I will be on YouTube every single day creating content aimed at helping you to avoid making the same mistakes with your life that I made with mine. If you want to avoid getting addicted to gambling or begin the process of recovery, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I want to thank you all for taking the time to stop in here today, for leaving likes on the video, for asking good questions, And to everyone that donated, thank you so much for doing that. By no means do you ever need to feel like you need to do that. The number one thing is just showing up, engaging with the content, and sharing it out. So, to everyone that's been watching, thank you so much for your time. I'm actually, if you're feeling like you want to keep hearing me talk, going to be going live on TikTok, of course, with the live replay. You guys might not see it, but I'm genuinely going to be going live in about 10 minutes on TikTok. So, feel free to drop in over there, and we're going to be doing the same thing on Absolute Rapid Fire. So thank you all, and let's keep getting better together one day at a time. Bye, everybody.